Hey guys! In this video, I am going to be sharing my thoughts on the brand new movie, A Star is Born, starring Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. Now, in the first half of this video, I'm gonna give some general thoughts, general feelings towards the movie, and then in the second portion of the video, I'm gonna get a little bit more specific in terms of, specific scenes. There will be some spoilers, but don't worry, I will give you a lot of notice before the spoilers come out in this video, just in case you don't want to be spoiled. When I first heard that this movie was being made, I was really excited just because I've never seen any original A Star is Born film. I am not familiar with the plot, so this was a completely new story for me. And I'm such a sucker for a pop diva starring in a movie. I mean, hello, Cher in Moonstruck, Cher in Mermaids, I mean, Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan, and then of course, Queen Christina in Burlesque. I even loved Britney in Crossroads. So when I heard that Gaga was gonna be starring in a movie, I was so excited because I've been a fan of Lady Gaga for a very long time, and I knew already before even going into the movie that she was gonna kill it with the acting, because all throughout her career, there's been such a huge element of acting in everything that she does. All of her music videos, she is connected to the audience, and she shows so much emotion and so much passion that I knew her in an acting role was already gonna be a good fit before I even saw the movie. A Star is Born is about a young woman whose name is Allie, who is an aspiring musician who meets Jack, who is like a famous rock and roll star. He stumbles into a drag bar one night after one of his shows and is completely blown away by Allie's performance at this drag bar. She's the only biological woman who performs on the drag nights because I guess she used to be a server at that bar. So they meet, there is instant chemistry, they become very close very quickly, and their love story just, transpires. They travel together, they work together, their relationship, lots of twists and turns. They also go on a musical journey together as Allie finds her own unique identity in the music industry. The movie is a musical, and I will be so honest, when it comes to musicals, sometimes it's hit or miss for me. I love a good campy, crazy musical where like every other minute a song just like unnaturally starts. This is not like those movies. It is way more natural. It's not like, a character says something and then the other character responds in song. You know what I mean? Like, it is really natural and organic the way that the songs are intertwined within the story and throughout the story. I also like how the music helps develop the characters as well. I found that each song choice was really well thought out, and every song throughout each stage of the film had its own place and really helped the story progress. I also thought that the music was really well done in the sense that it gave the actors an incredible opportunity to perform and to show off their chops, basically. It wasn't just someone singing. It was like there was so much emotion in each song and in each delivery of the song, and I thought that the music played such an integral part to the film. So when it comes to the acting, I have to start with the strongest performance in the film, and that is the performance of Lady Gaga's. She was incredible as Allie. I can't stress it enough. I missed her when she wasn't on screen. And that rarely happens when I'm watching a movie. But every time she wasn't on camera, which was rare, she's in literally like the whole film, I just missed her presence. She had a really great natural way of delivering the lines without the lines sounding rehearsed. So in conversation with Bradley Cooper's character, Jackson, if the two characters were talking, there would be interruptions made. Like Allie would kind of interrupt him at times, and that's, obviously Lady Gaga, but it's also to the credit of the director and the writers as well, obviously. But just the way that she would communicate and converse with the other characters, it felt like they were just real friends, real relationships. Gaga was also on Stephen Colbert, and she even said that to prepare for the role, she like took out her hair extensions like 3 months before filming just to like get into the mindset of the character. So I thought that was really interesting. I also felt like the breakdown of Lady Gaga's like persona, like taking out the hair and the crazy makeup and the crazy costumes, seeing her without all that wasn't that much of a shock for me, just because I felt like we did get an element of that within the Joanne era. And the documentary, the Netflix documentary 5'2" that came out, I felt like we got a very, very raw version of Gaga. And it kind of prepared me to be able to embrace and accept a more minimal Lady Gaga in this film as Ally. I felt like the character development progressed really naturally too. Even though the movie's quite fast-paced, I felt like there was enough time given to each character's story. It made me as the viewer feel way more connected and invested into the character. It felt like I was watching real people. It felt almost like a documentary at times. Didn't even really feel like a scripted feature. I liked Bradley Cooper's performance too. I really enjoyed Bradley Cooper's musical performances throughout the movie. I thought that's when he really shined. The one thing I will say, and it's not even, it's like a slight critique, is I found that his voice was super, super deep. Like very deep, like literally Batman deep. And there were times throughout the movie, and I wasn't the only one, because I heard a few people like literally having to ask their friends. There were a few lines that I completely missed because I just couldn't understand him, because the deepness of his voice sometimes made the lines feel a bit mumbled. I am so used to watching movies at home, so I'm so used to having subtitles and being able to rewind. There were so many times during this movie while he was talking that I was like wanting to rewind. I literally almost turned around at one point to the projector and was like, "Can you please rewind?" Like, I just missed a few key lines. I felt that was my only thing. Are you a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race? Because if you are, honey, then you would have loved Willem and Shangela's role in the movie. So if you are a fan of Lady Gaga, first and foremost, you should definitely see this movie. And if you're a fan of love stories and music, then you should definitely check out A Star is Born, because it doesn't disappoint. There were no parts of the movie that I felt lagged. I was never bored. And it was a fairly long film too. I think it was like 2 hours or maybe even a little bit longer. And I was invested the whole time. I was so invested that like I literally like sweated through my pants. Like when I got up to leave the theater, I was like sweating because I was just so in the zone. I loved the movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I would even see it again. I would. And I don't normally feel like that about the majority of movies that I see, but I would even go to the theater again. Like maybe bring my mom, I'd maybe bring like a friend. I feel like I could definitely sit through it again and be just as invested. So yeah, you guys, I really loved A Star is Born. I would highly recommend you go and see it, whether it's in the theater or if you want to wait for it on demand. Oh, one more thing. The volume, seeing it in the theater really is impactful. Like the songs, it sounded like I was in a concert. Warning, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to get spoiled, please just click off the video. You guys, a performance that I loved was Shangela and Willem's performance in the movie. I thought it was really cool to see these two queens in a movie of this caliber. It is such a big deal in my mind for drag performers to be featured on such mainstream platforms. Now, when I first heard that they were gonna be in the movie, I was like, oh, okay, they'll have like a little extra part. They'll have like a, you know, background part. I don't know, like, but it was like a memorable and significant role. Like they delivered incredible punchlines. They brought such an incredible humor to the movie. The whole audience laughed so much during both of their scenes. Their jokes delivered, their jokes landed, and they left a very lasting impression. And I left the movie thinking first about Lady Gaga's amazing performance, but second, how incredibly enjoyable it was to watch Willem and Shangela in the movie. It was the first time I saw drag queens, especially from RuPaul's Drag Race, in like a mainstream Hollywood movie with lines and in a positive light that wasn't too stereotypical. Like, I also was a little bit concerned that maybe their roles were going to be a little bit, you know, maybe a little offensive just because it is Hollywood and it's so mainstream, and I was a bit concerned, but I also had hope because Gaga is obviously such an LGBT, you know, icon. So I knew that if Gaga's name was attached to the project, that there was really a small chance that, you know, drag performers or queer people would be subjected to that sort of stereotyping. So I did have faith that they were going to be represented well, and they truly were. There was no like weirdness, there was no, you know, discomfort. They played Gaga's family in the movie, like her found family. And when Bradley Cooper like kind of stumbles into this drag bar, there is a slight moment of humor because like he literally just wants to find a bar, any bar. And so he just happens to stumble into this gay bar. And I was a little bit worried that he was going to be like, you know, weirded out and there was going to be like an awkward, like straight man reaction to the queens. But it was the opposite. I felt like the movie did a really great job in sharing the story of this character's addiction. I didn't find it to be offensive. I didn't find that it was like stereotypical, you know, because in some movies, sometimes I find like when they're tackling alcoholism, there's always the character like who wakes up drunk and like immediately takes a sip of booze, and it's sometimes I find that alcoholics portrayed in film, it's not in a serious light, even if it's a serious movie. I sometimes find that there's always like the stumbling drunk throughout the whole film. The way that they portrayed his alcoholism, I found was very natural and almost subtle in some scenes. Like he would subtly, you know, pour a drink and have it. He would subtly take some pills. There were some scenes where it was very bold and it was clear that he was, you know, kind of getting fucked up. But I found that for the most part, his use and his abuse, I should say, was very, you know, kind of hidden away from us in a way that a lot of alcoholics and addicts, how that is a very true representation of how they function in the real world. I also felt the hurt and the pain of Ali regarding his addiction, and that's also something that sometimes I don't feel like is portrayed in film properly. Alcoholics or addicts, they are hurting themselves, but sometimes the pain of the people closest to them aren't portrayed as deeply as the person's pain. It is so important that mainstream movies like A Star is Born, you know, films that have such a famous and recognizable star like Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, movies that are going to garner a lot of attention and a lot of box office revenue, that these films tackle issues that are so common. Addiction can happen to anyone. Addiction does happen to anyone. It does not discriminate. And for a guy like Bradley Cooper, who is, you know, so cool, so handsome, in the movie he's like a rock star. He's like on top of the world. Yet even someone who has it all can suffer from addiction. And I think that a lot of people have this very stereotypical idea of who an addict looks like, and they don't ever realize that an addict could be their parent, it could be their partner, it could be their coworker. You know, addiction can stay hidden for someone's entire life. There are so many functioning addicts out there, and I found that by having such a seemingly strong male lead like Bradley Cooper play a character who is so broken and needs help, is helpful. And it affects the people around them, you know, just as much as it affects themselves. I like how it showed how Jackson's relationship to Ali was affected so deeply by his addiction and his codependency that stemmed from the addiction. How it affected his relationship with Ali's father, how it affected his relationship with his own brother. I mean, it really shows the heartache and heartbreak from all the characters around him in a really great way. And, you know, the addiction affected her career so drastically, let alone, you know, his. Obviously, it affects his career deeply. He finds himself like playing backup you know, for a performance at the Grammys when he gets like really fucked up. I really appreciated the way that they showed how his addiction affected Ali's career to the point where she was making really drastic decisions that would hinder her own career, but she didn't even care because she wanted to be there for him to make him feel better, and in doing so was hurting herself along the way. I thought the end of the movie was well done. There wasn't like super dramatic music. It wasn't like super moody. It just kind of felt like a regular scene in the movie. I thought that the final scene of him like looking a little past the camera, but it was kind of a close-up shot of his face was quite haunting. I was expecting the manager to at some point step in because, you know, there are a lot of scenes of Ali and him kind of having a bit of conflict regarding career decisions and how she wants to, like, you know, include him in her career moments, and the manager's like, no, that's like, you know, you shouldn't do that. I just felt like the way that the character came at Jackson felt a little bit forced. And that is when I was like, oh no, this is the end. I already saw it happening. And until that point in the movie, I really didn't know what was gonna happen because I hadn't seen the previous A Star is Born movies, so I really didn't know exactly what was gonna happen. I do know that Gaga mentioned in the Ellen interview that there was going to be some sort of tragic event that happened in the movie, so in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, like something bad is gonna happen. It was inevitable. I also felt like the movie did a great job at showing Ali mourning the loss of Jackson. I was waiting for a really like dramatic discovery, like I was waiting to see her discover Jackson. I was waiting for like a really big, grand, like dramatic performance from Gaga. But what I got instead was a really subtle yet profound performance of her grieving the loss of Jackson. I felt like the way that they showed time passing was really beautiful. Her like lying on the couch, seeing her like break the framed records, and then just sitting amongst the like rubble. I'm getting chills actually just even thinking about that scene where she like releases so much anger and so much regret. And then the scene where she's talking with his brother and she's just like silently crying as he tells her that it wasn't her fault. I thought that the way that those scenes progressed and the sequence of those scenes were so beautiful, and how at the final moment she sings that really stunning ballad and then ends it, and at the end shot where it was just her face looking at the camera, I have chills. I am like, that was just very, very moving. I had to just sit in the theater after that. Like I didn't get up right away. Like I just sat and watched the credits. Oh, and I loved how as she's performing, like the last bit of the song, it just suddenly cuts to her and Jackson in their studio and her crying and listening to him perform the song. Because I remember when that scene first happened and how they cut away before we got to hear him sing it. Really, really, really well done. And her crying as he sang it, I thought was just really haunting and a very, very important and beautiful moment in the movie. So my favorite song on the soundtrack, and I was surprised, and let me tell you guys, I didn't fall in love with the song at first listen. I was expecting Shallow to really not be like my fave song on the soundtrack. Turns out, I actually love this song now. It actually grew on me, and especially seeing the song in the whole context of the film. Like seeing the song in the story, the way that it's brought up with Ali and Jackson in the parking lot and her singing the first parts of the song, and then seeing how it was like the first performance with the two of them. Oh, I'm getting chills again thinking about it. I thought that the song in the context of the film it really was so effective and so moving and catchy, and I loved it a lot, like after seeing it in the movie. I also really liked the like pop song that she does during the SNL scene, like, why do you do that, do that, do that, do that, do that to me? Like, it's such a like, you know, cheesy pop song, but like, I don't know, I was just really digging that song. Also really liked Heal Me as well, when she like, you know, drops the dancers. I loved that song as well. And I also have to say too, I liked seeing Richie Squirrel, her long-term choreographer, in the movie. I thought that that was really great. I liked that he was the choreographer for those scenes of her like in her pop stardom mode. Honey, the nude scenes were tasteful AF. They really, really were. Like that scene of her, and the scene, oh my God, you guys, I'm just word vomit now. But the scene of her in the bathtub when her and Bradley get into their like first fight when he calls her ugly. Oh, my heart broke. But that final nude scene, honey, it was like, she was like, honey, I worked hard for this body. She stands up in the bath and then right before the door closes, we get a full nude moment. You gotta freeze it or you're gonna miss it. Tasteful way to show nudity. I also really loved Ali and Jackson's first interaction when she's like taking off her makeup in the drag bar. I loved how she like had those little eyebrows, and I loved just their flirtation, and he's so enamored with her and she's just so surprised. And I love how he waits for her throughout the movie. There are so many scenes where he's waiting for her and or offers to wait for her. And I know that it's like codependency, and that's also an issue in the film and a source of contention between them. But I thought his love for her from the moment he sees her was very subtle yet profound. It was subtle yet it really broke my heart, but made my heart like flutter. Another scene that I found really moving, that I'd never seen a scene like this before either, was when Jackson was in rehab and Ali comes to visit him. And in their first conversation together since he went away, she asks if he's gonna come home when he's done his treatment. And he like doesn't understand the question. But the reason why she's asking is because when they met, when they fell in love, he was so under the influence of alcohol and drugs. And that's something that I've never seen a storyline or a script shift to the person whose loved one is suffering with the addiction doesn't know whether their loved one is going to come out of treatment sober and with the same love for them that they had before, because she's only ever known him as an addict and he's only ever known her as an addict. So when he comes out clean and sober, is he still gonna look at her the same way? And she just, that scene where Ali is just like, she kind of keeps asking him like, you know, are you gonna come home? Like, are you still gonna feel the same way? But it's a loving movie and it is an emotional movie. So definitely bring some Kleenex to wipe your eyes if you tend to cry in movies, okay? But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm so happy I saw it, and I appreciate you guys so much for watching this review. Let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments. If you saw it, let me know your favorite part. I appreciate you guys watching this review so much. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from me, then subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so you get notified every single time I upload a video. If you want to connect on social media, my username is @NadyWeb across all platforms. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Bye!